Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're back with another In Context. Today is July 26th. The U.S. seems to be still negotiating. I again use that word loosely because we've now see clearly the way the U.S. negotiates is they make a deal, they make an agreement, whether MAU or whatever otherwise, and then they bomb more. They keep bombing you, try to get another deal. Very strange way to negotiate. I wonder how this is going to affect the rest of the world going future for the U.S., but that's where we're at. So I want to discuss some things that happened, like the Houthis have entered this war. It seems like there's some shady stuff happening between the Arab states, and we should recap the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
The big picture of what's going on between Iran and the US is continuation of negotiations through other means. So the old war strategists put war as the continuation of politics through other means. What we're seeing is exactly that. The Iran and the US continue to negotiate over an end of their war through other means. Why is that happening? Because the US in the Trump era is a very weird monster. So typically in international relations, states value their credibility. So they are willing to lie and cheat and commit all kinds of double crossing under the table. But officially, on the record, they like to look like credible with one word, because that is in statecraft is very important for your reliability, for your position in international relations. If you sign any deal with another state, the only way this can work is if they know that you will stick to your deal. Okay. In the Trump era, even US allies can't trust the US word. So the Canadian government on the record says, well, we're not sure if we sign anything when the US whether swear to the paper it's written on. And, the Europeans are allies of the US. Canada is a subservient state to the US. So we are living in weird times. The US is the dominant power of this order. It is the organizing authority of the order, and it has gone haywire. Anyway, what we're seeing, as you put it, is the way the US does peace deals. So just like they did in Gaza, just like they did in Lebanon, they write stuff, they agree to stuff, and then they go right ahead and do whatever they feel like. Okay, as if they haven't written it, as if it has no meaning whatsoever. This has worked for them in Gaza. This has worked for them in Lebanon. It is not working for them in Iran. So Trump essentially signed a memorandum of understanding that says, well, whatever Iran wants, they are going to get. Then he went ahead and decided that, no, he's not going to do that. He is not going to let Iran control the Strait of Hormuz. He is going to try to run the strait himself. And when Iran checked him, he's now going back to war trying to enforce his right. The only problem with this is it's not working. So if you look carefully at the way this current bout of aggression is conducted, you would observe two things. First, the US is attacking Iran on the peripheries, not at the center. And although their attacks, for example, in the southwest and the southeast, took a pattern of attacking roads and what looked like trying to isolate Bandar Abbas and trying to isolate the coast opposite to Harj Island, which in the vainglorious minds of American military types would scare the Iranians into thinking that the US is about to launch a ground invasion to either Bandar Abbas or Harj. That didn't happen. The Iranians didn't buy that, and it didn't get very far. On the other hand, the Iranians are responding in a different way. So instead of going after the same targets they went after the last time around, like the US is doing right now, they moved from attacking US bases in the Gulf, which now are mostly empty, to attacking US bases in Jordan. During the war, the US moved its forces from bases in the Gulf to bases in Jordan and Israel. Both the US and Iran exclude Israel from the war, just like they excluded from the negotiations. Because both of them are really negotiating, continuing the negotiations. Both of them figure out that Israel could not be part of the negotiations because Israel has a problem with the existence of Iran as a regime and state. They might even have a problem with the existence of the nation state of Iran. So you would like either to bring down the regime or to cut it into a maze like Iraq or like Somalia. Okay. That is not something the US wants, and obviously it's not something the nation state in Iran wants. So that's why they initially cut it out of the negotiations, and that's why they continue to cut it out of the negotiations by military means. Okay. Now the stupid, foolish Saudi propagandists say, well, Iran is saying that it's against Israel, and Iran is not attacking Israel. How come? See how critical they are. Well, Iran is a nation state just like them, and it's behaving as a nation state. And its problem with Israel is not the existence of Israel. Its problem with Israel is that it does not want them to exist, really. Regardless of forget about their slogans. Okay. So this is, when you read these kinds of things, this is just propaganda. Just don't waste your time reading nonsense. Anyway, okay. That's the big picture. Now, this has resulted in two interesting types of evolutions of the war. The first one is the Houthis joined. Now, the Arab regime propaganda has it that the Houthis are Iranian state extensions. That is not true. The Houthis are their own thing. They are very Machiavellian. They have been in the business of buying and selling their allegiance since the late 50s. Okay. So you're dealing with very wily operators there. The interesting part is they have decided this time around that they'd like to join in. That reflects an assessment on their part, which is a reasonable assessment, that this war is going Iran's way. So if you join in, you may gain something. So they are assessing that the risks of joining in are low compared to the advantages. And the advantage to them right now appears to be breaking out the quarantine, essentially Saudi Arabia is enforcing quarantine around Yemen and preventing transportation into and outside of Yemen. And they want to break this out. They seem to be in a good place to get it because actually they managed to entrap the stupid oaf Hamad al-Sahyun in Riyadh into attacking them. So he went and just mindlessly bombed out Sana'a airport, and that opened him up to Houthis attacks he cannot defend against. So yes, he can attack Yemen, obviously. He has been doing that for a long time, and they don't have the resources to stop him. And he has done that after he attacked Sana'a. He went and attacked Hudaydah, and then today he went and attacked again the areas in Ma'rib and Al Jawf. And they don't have the facilities to respond to him, but they had the facilities to attack him. And they have the facilities to stop shipping in the Bab al-Mandab Straits. That is through the Red Sea. And that's useful for Iran, it's useful for them, and it works to blackmail Saudi Arabia and blackmail the master of Saudi Arabia, the US. So it works very well for them. And they look like they are defending themselves because he attacked them first. So the stupid oaf actually provided them with an opening. The interesting part is, before he attacked Yemen, he actually asked for permission from Trump, and Trump allowed him. I think that was also stupidity on Trump's part, which occasionally, because he is vainglorious, he would do. But it also may reflect an interest in the US deepening its protectorate's hold. So its protectorates now are officially part of the aggression because they are passively allowing the aggression. Okay. But the US seems to be interested in deepening their hold by getting them to actively be part of the aggression. This is mostly reflected in the fact that the US exposed the fact that Kuwait and Bahrain launched war on Iran in secret, which is a joke. So the Wall Street Journal, which has a lot of credibility, reports that Kuwait and Saudi and Bahrain launched air attacks on Iran, supported by UAE intelligence. So UAE told them where to bomb, and they sent their airplanes to bomb them. The Kuwaiti ambassador to the US came out denying this, and just to help us to know that she is a liar, she also told us that Kuwait is not party to the war. Kuwait does not allow anyone to attack Iran, as if we can see on satellite the American bases. There are more than 5 American bases in Kuwait that are being used to attack Iran. As if Iran's agents in Iraq are not actually in real time videoing the missiles coming out of Kuwait to attack Iran. In the latest bout of attacks, the US is bombing through surface-to-surface missiles from Kuwait into Abadan area and Khuzestan area. And these missiles actually fly over Iraq. And that region has a lot of Iran agents, and the guys are sitting and just taking videos. so to help us to know that she is just a liar, she added this lie for good measure, that we are not party at all to this. The crazy part of this is, for the last week, Iran has been attacking since 10 days. Iran has been attacking the joint water and electricity facilities in Kuwait. This is a very dangerous thing. Iran has water beside the desalination plants. So Iran says that we're responding to the US attacks around the desalination plants, we're attacking Kuwait desalination plants, but it's not the same thing. Kuwait has no water resources beside desalination. When you attack desalination plants in Kuwait, you can threaten the lives of the inhabitants. Yes, they are also attacking electricity, but electricity, you switch, you flip a switch, and there is a joint electricity network in the area. It's fixed. It stabilizes. They essentially use generation in Saudi Arabia, and it stabilizes. But water, what can you do about water? And that blinkered off who runs the government in Kuwait when he is not busy taking away citizenship from those who are, hit by the fact that he's their overlord, quote unquote, goes and attacks Iran. He can't protect the water, and goes and attacks Iran. Just digs his hole further. The Americans say, when in a hole, stop digging. And the blinkered off can't stop digging. Of course, the US doesn't mind that, because that means he is beholden to it more and more. When the US right now officially does not protect its own bases. So the US now says we are conserving anti-missile weapons, so we are not protecting our own bases against Iranian missiles, except those that target troops. So if they target facilities, they don't respond. Forget about protecting his protectorate. Forget about protecting the poor subjects who have been, plagued by his overlordship. These people are crazy. And the Jordanian government, meanwhile, declares that we have no American bases in Jordan. Of course, everybody can see satellite images of the American bases in Jordan. The US reports about the death of its soldiers in American bases in Jordan. And the American soldiers in the American bases in Jordan leak videos of them in the American bases in Jordan. Jordan claims, of course, these are not American bases, because actually they have 8.5 by 11 pages of the Jordanian flag plastered on the walls. Literally, you can see them in the videos. It's sick. not laughable. And these governments are actually losing further credibility. They didn't have credibility to begin with, but they are losing even more of it, which is glorious to my mind. What we live in is a colonial jail, and that jail keeps collapsing. That's great for the prisoners inside the jail. It is not great for your home to collapse, I agree. But it's great for your home to collapse when it's a jail. So in a perverse sense, this is good news.
So you mentioned that the UAE supplied them the target list, and then they took the bait. They're so stupid, and they shot the missiles. So that begs the question: why doesn't Iran hit the UAE? I understand why they're not hitting Israel. Why not
because
UAE?
the UAE paid them $6 billion.
Yeah.
And that's also, they are not attacking Saudi Arabia, which is interesting, and they suspect because Saudi Arabia has paid something. They haven't attacked Qatar heavily because Qatar also has promised to pay another $6 billion. But that doesn't mean that the UAE is not going to be hit. They are actually nastier than the blinkered off in Saudi Arabia or the original Mohammed Al Sayoun off in Riyadh. Meaning the off in Kuwait and the off in Riyadh are Arab Zionists of Team B, but the Bahrain and UAE are Arab Zionists Team A. These guys are Israelis. And they are in this more than the US. They are vested into this more than the US. So Israel thinks that it has an existential threat from Iran. And those guys are part of this idea. The Kuwait and Saudi Arabia are willing to coexist in some order that is sponsored by the US. So they think they are more important than being subservient to Iran, but they are very happy being subservient to the US. The laughable part is there are Muslims who find that something respectable and acceptable.
Yeah. It's
Now, I'm not saying that being subservient to the nation state in Iran is a good thing. It is a bad thing. But claiming that being subservient to the US is a better option than being subservient to Iran is completely bonkers. Iran is not the empire. Iran is a breakaway faction within the empire. In the order of picking, it's a much less controlling interest than the US.
much, much less. It's not even comparable.
Yeah, come on. The nation state in Iran is afraid that it can collapse. But the US is not about to collapse.
So let me ask you a question. Then, when the MOU was signed, I'm putting myself in Donald Trump's head for a second. This man goes on Twitter, goes on whatever social media, because he lives on social media, which is so bizarre. Like my partner in the gym, I'm always yelling at him. Get off social media. He's always on it. This is a president that gets on social media, and what does he do? He sees the whole world is laughing at the MOU, saying you just capitulated to Iran, you gave them the Strait of Hormuz, something they didn't have before. So this gets in his head because he cares about these things. He really does. And we're back to this. My point is, today, no bombing. Yesterday, no bombing. Looks like we said in this podcast right now, like you said, I'm sorry, we're back to negotiating. And the end result is, okay, well, back to the same starting point. We're going to have to give you the Strait of Hormuz, which means you're going to get the same criticism again. I don't see the cycle ending because he's that petty.
Well, eventually he runs out of road. Eventually he runs out of road. So there is no way in which he can open the strait without a deal with Iran. There is no way Iran will accept a deal that does not give it control over the states. The business of tariffs and money to pass the states is just an excuse for Iran to exercise control over the states. Okay, meaning the money they can make out of exporting their oil freely is much more than anything they can make out of taxing the states. But what they are after is a safety card in the face of the imperial order they want to be part of that has no word, that has no credibility. So they need a safety card. They are looking for a safety card. That's about it.
I see it.
Okay. Europe, for example, in Europe in its dealings with the US needs a safety card. And a safety card is, well, we are as big an economic force as you. If you get too nasty with us, we're going to hurt yourself and hurt ourselves in the process as well. And they have told him that. The European Union has a legislation called the Bazooka, and specifically designed to do this. That we are quite willing to harm ourselves if it means to stop you harming us. Okay, but Iran doesn't have that. And they have finally discovered, it just took them 46 years to discover that trying to get the US to accept them by subservience is not going to work. So right now they have moved from deliberately attacking the US in ways that would not harm their troops, like they have been doing for the last since forever, in the performative bombing of American bases, into actually targeting the troops. Okay, what they are trying to do is to get to a position where, well, we can harm you if you harm us. So let's back off and find a way of coexisting. It's a nation state want to coexist with the US.
I see it. I think we got it.
For the Ummah, yeah, all these nation states are harm to the Ummah. But the question now is to understand what's going on, rather than to advocate for any of the nation states.
That's a good way to end. Thank you for your time today.